Hi students, this is Professor Cooling. Welcome to week 7 of Library 100. So far in the course, we've looked at some pretty abstract and conceptual topics using the ACRL Information Literacy Framework. We've been looking at information has value, scholarship as conversation, information creation as a process, and my favorite, authority is constructed and contextual. And looking at information through these frames allows us to see things about information we probably never saw before. How information is produced, shared, interpreted, and valued, how complex and nuanced that often is, and how information is shaped by socioeconomic forces, like the news deserts we read about, or paywalls in academic publishing that we watched the documentary about. So in this class, we're not looking for easy answers, like peer review is good, everything else is bad, or that the media is biased, therefore you can't trust any news. These are all surface level observations that you probably already had before you started the class. But in Lib 100, we're looking to go deeper than that. We're looking to challenge some of those assumptions that you already have. And your goal should be to grow, to develop or to change the ideas that you have about information, not just to restate what you think you already know. So there is a little bit of that happening in the discussion posts and the quiz questions. Just kind of some bland, generic observations about information, like how you should always check your sources. And yeah, you should always check your sources, but that's kind of the baseline starting point of the class. We're in week 7. I'm looking for you to add something new, your own insight. Take it a little further, problematize something. So for example, with peer review, yes, peer review is objectively one of the best kind of standards for information out there. However, as we learned, it's not flawless. It's not perfect. There are problems with it. There's implicit bias with peer review. Like that. Explain how you could apply what you're learning in class to some other area in your life, like the other classes that you're taking right now at GCC, or things that you've been hearing about and reading about in the news or in pop culture, or conversations that you're having with your friends. Of course, always relate it back to the course content, but yeah, make connections with the material to the outside world, if you will. And be prepared to learn something new in the class. So I am definitely also seeing some great creative kind of insights and questions, like about the information literacy involves how to be wrong sometimes, kind of knowing how to be wrong, which is a really interesting idea because that's an uncomfortable place for us to be in, right? Being wrong. But the information world is so complicated and kind of polluted that, yeah, we're going to make mistakes. We're not perfect. We might read something false and not know it. So how do we adjust? How do we react to that? How do we, how do we respond to being wrong? What is the psychology around that? Or another great question one of y'all asked in the discussion post was if the size of a media outlet had any impact on the quality of the journalism they produce. So great question, and definitely connected to the information has value frame. So those are kind of some examples of the types of insights, questions, connections that I'm hoping that you're going to make in your discussion posts and your assignments and your quiz questions. So this week we're looking at searching as strategic exploration, excuse me. And this is when we start learning those concrete skills you need to search effectively in databases, on the internet, and in the library catalog, which we call OneSearch. So there's also a conceptual and philosophical aspect to the frame as well. And the key words to understanding this frame are iterative and nonlinear. So we'll start with nonlinear. Nonlinear in this context means that information doesn't follow this strict path of moving from point A to point B. You have your research question, You find your sources, you write your paper, you're done. That's usually not how it goes. If you're doing it right, it should be iterative. Iterative means doing something again and again, usually to improve it. And that means in this context that research often involves backtracking, right? 2 steps forward, 1 step back, adjusting based on what you're learning, maybe adjusting your research question or your search terms based on what you've learned about your topic, exploring multiple avenues, multiple ideas at the same time. So kind of it's like a state of mental flexibility, curiosity, adaptability, just as much as it is about the concrete kind of search tools and strategies that you need to be a good researcher. So that's that. So that's searching as strategic exploration. A couple of procedural notes, I guess, if you will, is number one, please watch and read the content for the week in order. I have a feeling some of y'all are starting at the calendar view and just like hopping straight to the assignments, which is not the way to do it. I have put the content in a specific order so that everything is building on each other, building on the thing that came before. So go through each week's modules sequentially. That's how I designed it, and that's how you're going to get the most out of it. And last, please read the discussion prompts, the quiz questions, the assignment instructions carefully, because sometimes just a change of a word, like I'm asking what you think is interesting about news this week, but you read it as in the news this week. And that's totally different. Those are 2 totally different things. So make sure you're kind of really paying attention and reading carefully. A lot of these prompts have multiple steps. So if you go wrong up here, then all of this is going to be wrong too. So just make sure you're kind of taking your time to understand what I'm asking you to do in these assignments and assessments. All right, so that's all from me. Please reach out if you have any questions, as usual.